What's up, YouTube? So as you saw from the B-roll you just watched, today we are in Toronto. I'm with my good friend Nick, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a Canon lens shootout. So Nick always shoots on this setup right here. It's the Canon 5D Mark IV with the 24-70 f2.8 lens, and my primary lens that I shoot with almost every single day doing all my videos and a lot of the photography I do as well is the 15-35 f2.8. So mine's more of an ultra wide angle lens, but it also is a pretty versatile wide or zoom range, whereas Nick's is kind of like the all-around lens that if you were to ask any professional photographer you could only have one lens, this is probably what they'd recommend to you. So we're going to do a little bit of a shootout today, and we have kind of an itinerary in terms of where we want to walk. It's probably going to take us like an hour or two. We're going to go back and forth filming each other, taking photos, and so we're going to kick it off. I'm kind of looking at the map right now because I'm not super familiar with Toronto. So we're going to walk straight from our hotel down to the corner of, I believe it's King Street and Bay Street, where there's this like really iconic view of the CN Tower in between these two black buildings. You've probably seen the photo a million times, but we're going to start there. And then we're going to take a walk down the street, probably a mile or two, to what's called the Gooderham building, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name right there, but it's this really cool like triangular shaped building that's right at this intersection. Potentially do a couple nighttime long exposures there, and that's where we're probably going to wrap the video up. I'm going to be shooting on the 15-35, Nick's going to be shooting on the 24-70. We're going to see who gets the better photos. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so we're walking around the city and we just made our first stop. We're at kind of like this iconic Toronto location where it's the ice rink with the big Toronto sign. If you follow any other YouTubers that make videos up here like Peter McKinnon or Maddie Hapoya, you've probably seen this location a million times. I'll show you a clip of it. But Nick and I are kind of walking around here. Nick's over here, and we're just sniping a couple of shots from up here. It's a pretty cool viewpoint. The sun is out for the first time in like a month, which is incredible. And so we're kind of trying to play with shadows and actually the sun in the background and things of that nature. And so we're going to go back and forth, taking a couple photos. I'm going to take a couple, then Nick's going to take a couple, and we're going to show you what we're getting, and we'll talk you through it. All right, so one of the first shots we're going for right here. So I noticed Nick was taking a photo and the sun is like right behind him, and it's creating this like really cool sun star effect. And so we're going to try to play with some of the elements in this area, take advantage of the sun being in the background, and see if we can create something cool with the super wide angle lens right now. Location number 2 is yet again another iconic Toronto spot, a place where you've probably seen this photo 10 million times, but it's our first time taking photos here, so of course we're going to make this photo. It's this spot where I don't think you can see it because it's so bright right now. The CN Tower lines up like perfectly in between these two buildings. I'll show you a little bit of a clip so you can see what I'm talking about. I think that 15-35 versus 24-70 is kind of an interesting conversation in a spot like this, because Nick's able to get a really cool tight shot of the CN Tower, but I'm able to get like a really wide shot where I leverage the black buildings that are kind of surrounding this area. And so I don't know, it's kind of up to personal taste which one you like more, but certainly two cool photographs. All right, so we just finished up shooting at that location, and we actually met this kid who was riding a BMX bike, and he was doing bunny hops in this one spot where the light was shining through like perfectly, and so it was silhouetting him. And so we both took photos over there. I took one at 15 millimeters, and I was actually able to capture the shadow of his bike. I think that one came out awesome. And Nick took a little bit of a different photo. He zoomed in, I think, to right around 70 millimeters. Right around 70 millimeters. And that one actually looks sick as well. And so I'll show you those photos right here. And I like those ones. Those are some of my favorites so far. Alright, so we just spent some time shooting the Gooderham building, and again, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering it. This is the building right here, actually. So I was, again, shooting on the 15-35. Nick was shooting on the 24-70, and I tried to really focus on taking like super wide angle shots with using foreground elements. So for example, there was like a sewer grate in the foreground, and I was able to leverage that kind of as a leading line up into the building itself. Nick, on the other hand, tried focusing on taking like detail shots and things of that nature. Because he's able to get out to 70 millimeters, he was able to zoom in quite a bit more than I was, obviously, and so he focused on getting like detail shots using a couple foreground elements like a light pole and things of that nature. And so very, very different styles of photography in terms of, or actually they're not even very different styles of photography, very similar styles, trying to use like foreground elements and things of that nature, but just completely different focal lengths. So let me know which one you think looks better. Alright guys, so I'm back at the office. If you enjoyed the video so far, definitely give it a thumbs up down below. Let's try to get this video to 50 thumbs up in the next 24 hours. I think that would be a record for me, and I'd appreciate it big time. It really helps out the channel a ton. Thank you guys. And as you can see, we are in a completely different environment right now than we usually are in, and that's because I actually moved this week. I'm still in Buffalo, but I moved to a different place. I'm pretty excited about it. I got a really nice spot up here, but I'm still working on decorating things, so you'll probably see the appearance of this place change a little bit as time goes on, but super excited about this spot. It was a really solid day of photography yesterday up in Toronto. So I think I walked away from the day with like 3 or 4 keepers, images that I actually really, really liked. I took some of them with the 15 to 35, and then there's a couple other images that I took off camera later on that night with my 50mm that'll be posting up on Instagram. So if you're interested in seeing those, definitely go check out my Instagram page. It's in the description below. But I wanted to make this video yesterday kind of comparing the 15 to 35 and the 24 to 70 because they're both two really solid zoom focal lengths. I really love both of those lenses, particularly the 15 to 35 that I'm shooting on right now. I love this lens. It gives you the ability to have this ultra wide angle field of view like you see right now, but it also gives you the ability to kind of zoom in to almost a normal focal length. It's still pretty wide at 35mm, but it gives you enough of a zoom that it gives you the ability to shoot some level of portraits and things of that nature with the lens as well. However, even though this is my favorite focal length for a zoom lens, it's not necessarily the lens that I would recommend to everybody if they were just going to have one zoom lens. The 24 to 70 f2.8, on the other hand, is probably the lens that I would recommend to you if you were just going to get a single zoom lens. And the reason for that is because it gives you an extremely versatile focal length that allows for you to shoot just about anything, like architecture, people, portraits, landscapes, all of that stuff. And it allows for you to get a relatively wide angle of view at 24mm, but then also crop into 50 or even 70mm, which allows for you to get really different focal lengths and really different looks without having to swap lenses at all, which is a huge, huge plus. The only reason that I personally don't have a 24 to 70mm lens is because I have this philosophy where I don't like to have lens focal lengths that overlap. So for example, I have this 15 to 35mm lens because it really helps me to shoot these vlog style videos where I'm holding the camera out like this and I need to have that really wide angle of view. If I was to buy a 24 to 70 in addition to this, I would have an overlap of focal lengths between 24mm and 35mm. And in addition to that, my favorite focal length of all time is the 50mm lens, and so I love shooting on 50mm primes, so I also have a 50mm f1.2 lens, so that right there at 50mm would be an additional overlap. So the 24 to 70 would give me really redundant focal lengths, and I don't think that I would use it that much just because the overlap is so significant, and I would prefer to use my 15 to 35 for my videos, and then the 50mm for like any portrait work, or just honestly everything, because I love that focal length and I really love that f1.2 aperture on that lens. So this video wasn't really intended to be the most in-depth technical comparison of a 24 to 70 versus the 15 to 35 or a 16 to 35 even for that matter. I really just wanted to get out with my friend Nick up in Toronto, take some photos, and somehow wrap a video into it. And so I thought that this might be a good idea, comparing the looks of the images that we were getting between the two lenses. Thank you, Nick, as always, for coming out and shooting with me. It was a blast, definitely a lot of fun. I think we got some solid images. I'm actually editing a couple of them right now. You've probably already seen this one up on my Instagram, but yesterday was super fun. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it big time. I'm going to keep making these photo vlog style videos. I really enjoy making these, and I try to come up with kind of topics to talk about throughout the photo vlog. So if you want to suggest something for me to make a video about, definitely leave it in the comment section below. If you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys big time, and I'll see you next week. Peace.